2 sec, guys. I hate frogs, Alex. They're disgusting. All right. So looking at the chart here, we're looking at the spiders. It was an inside day and following a breakout to a new all-time high. And now potentially here, and I think kind of probable since the action in the NASDAQ, we're going to see a breakout bar failure in the spiders here, which I guess is short term is a bit of a concern. Is it an uptrend? So you get a pullback. The breakout bar failure, you can see this breakout here, the inside day breaks below the low of the inside bar, and that'll produce some movement to the downside. Now, that isn't a reason to short in this time frame. Intraday, we could probably find some shorts. However, you can see all these overlapping bars here on the daily chart. I doubt this is going to drop in any big way, especially, we've got Apple coming out after the close. That'll be waiting. And that being said, there's some hits going on in the NASDAQ there. That is definitely something to take note of. Some of those stocks really got smacked yesterday. Dan can take a look, but I'll mention a few. Anyway, so the question is this just nervous jitters here before making new all-time highs, or is it a short-term top? Now, we saw that the wrong way option traders going into the close on Friday were just loaded up, expecting a blast off to the upside, and that certainly was a heads up not to get too aggressive on the long side. While breadth wasn't, we looked at this in yesterday, by the way. Breadth has been diverging with lower highs, telling us that there has been kind of a narrow move to the upside here. I thought, well, maybe just based on Friday's close, things could take off and breadth could catch up. And now that's in question. Maybe we're just going to see more of a correction here, which could just be sideways chop. To break this uptrend, it has to trade below this swing low that we call major support. You can see it's making higher highs and higher lows. And if it breaks below here, well, it's no longer doing that, and it's violated the trend. That's a long ways off, and just right now it looks like we're in for some choppy action here, waiting for more earnings, and the Fed announcement on Wednesday. So you can see the spiders here pulling back to this 299. So that 300 level, just being a whole number, should be significant. I suspect if this was to drop down into that area sometime shortly after the open, buyers would be there, especially since this has been moving down. Okay. I mean, it's just a line, the 20 MA that we put here on the chart. It is in alignment with a little bit of support here. Where is it exactly? 299-ish. So it's right here, right? It's right about lined up here with this low. So, moving averages are subjective. We do use them as a reference point, and then we look to the left to confirm them with a reference point of price support or resistance. So, it breaking down below here leaves this double top in place and a break below the major support on the hourly time frame. And that opens up the door to potentially coming down to here. So we'll see. And if that was to happen, 296, we got kind of a Christmas tree going on, or Christmas lights going on here on the weekly here of green, red, green. And if this week was to end down here, we have red, and a close or break below last week's low would be short-term bearish, suggesting more of a pullback. So, as we always do, we just kind of monitor what's happening in multiple time frames, and we'll see how far this goes. Now, the Qs, this really doesn't tell the story, I'll tell you, not at all, where this actually looks, while it's consolidating, like I said, it really doesn't tell the story of some of the stocks that took hits yesterday. So this made this peekaboo above to new all-time highs, and things sold off, and they came back up, in the afternoon, and you got a bottoming tail bar. Whereas just looking at this would say, well, and I guess it would, if it took out this high, it says go long and look for prices to push higher. But looking at some of those software stocks that went down like throwing a rock off of a building yesterday, this really doesn't tell the story about some of the hits that some of those stocks took. Now, let's just look at the Russell here before we look at the futures. And this is kind of that Christmas light kind of effect there of, crazy, erratic, schizo price action with the wide range bar up, red almost all the way back down, green back up, red back down. And here, it's down on the support here. So, this is Christmas tree, sometimes referred to as a frog in a blender pattern, where you go long. Not that this is a go short pattern on this time frame, but intraday this could just leave somebody kind of bloodied at the end of a couple of days, wishing they never knew what the stock market was, getting flipped back and forth here. So a big part of learning about the markets is to know when to stay out of the way of certain patterns such as this. And the transports kind of really neutral. That doesn't give us much to go on in pre-market. They don't really move much, but it's kind of like a grinder. I don't know yet, and no one else does, whether this will turn out to be, we've talked about this possible head and shoulders pattern, or whether this continues to go up. So we've got that uncertainty of with earnings and the Fed announcement coming. And so we'll just see how that has to play out. And I guess by Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a clearer view of which way things are going here. Futures, S&Ps, still just chopping back and forth. There's that pattern. Frog in a blender, Christmas lights, green, red, green, stall back down here, not breaking any support, just chopping sideways. So, here we go down to the support level, 3,000 right there, give or take. So we'll just see if we get the bounce off of there. Does it get down to there? In any event, if it gets there, if it closes there, that strongly suggests it's going to move lower from there, and we will have an M top in place, or potentially an M top in place. Really good setup suggesting that it's going to go down here and break the low. So we need more information. We've got a move from the top of the range on the hourly, getting down to the bottom of the range on the hourly, which is just back and forth on the daily chart. So same story here that started yesterday, where I just talked about a lot of neutral patterns across the board. And that, while we've got a pretty big move here pre-market, it's just not really, it's not violating any significant support at this point. NQs, a little looks a bit worse, but same story pretty much, just chopping back and forth here. Excuse the red line, but let's do this. And so you can just see the trading range that's in place here. It's already down to the bottom of the range, that bottoming tail right there. That's the reversal and the move back up. So we want to see here, and I think maybe it's going to take 30 minutes or so this morning to see whether buyers can step up here and get this rallying back up, or whether, I would say a half hour of an inability to rally from there. Well, then we got to look for maybe at least a test of 7,900 100 today. And then we'll just see where it goes. I mean, that's just the next whole number. There's no real support there, as you can see. So we shall see. NQ also possibly. Yeah. I mean, Alex, you review MTS quite often, more than anyone I've ever known. So probably what's going to come out of my mouth here about M top, as explained there, is that M tops like this that make a slight new high is what I refer to as a bonus, an extra plus with that kind of an M top, since it really increases the shock value and the fact that it moved up there and then it fails. You've got a lot of longs trapped. So that isn't to suggest that we had information here that said that this couldn't go higher, other than you got this big whole number there. But now that it's beginning to take form, if this going down, I think we've still got that damn Fed, and we got Apple reporting after the close. What I wanted to say was, I think we should be short at that point, but some crazy numbers from Apple, or this could gap up and go. But the uncertainty around earnings and now the Fed announcement just makes it pretty tough to commit to something, knowing that you're dealing with news that could move the markets and just destroy patterns that are being created in the moment. So what else? We looked at, someone asked me about internals. So Fabio, I mentioned the internals. We looked at them yesterday. That's not the chart I wanted. It's just intraday chart there. The wrong way option traders, they're loaded here. They got loaded at the end of the day on Friday, looking for the market to explode to the upside. And now when these guys, girls, whoever they are, hedge funds, giant brains, doesn't matter who they are. We see what's going on here, believing that, then they start to act in unison that the market is going to go higher. And I would agree, it certainly looked like it was going to go higher. But when the boat is loaded on one side, it's not a good scenario. Now, even though we don't have breadth in agreement with it, which was what we look for a signal, this is still something to pay attention to. So we've got this has got to get worked off a bit. And that's pretty much what's happening here. It's just chopping around, and whatever they paid for those calls, they're just getting wiped out. All right, let's continue. What time is it? I'm getting a little late here. We're pretty much going to have the same story here. Dow is just continuing to chop around here, moving, in this area of minor support. So it's still a pattern that if it could get moving, of course, just like anything else, it should make new all-time highs, but it's not breaking down. And, same story here. Just more of a sloppy range going on at this point. All right, oil, just doing nothing here so far, holding at this level. Just another frog play there, traders getting chopped up. Bonds, traders getting chopped up. Gold, trying to get going here. Maybe, again, just waiting for the Fed here. Are they really going to lower interest rates? 100% certainty, yada, yada. But, let's see. It's starting to curl up here, suggesting it's going to go higher. Here's the resistance up here, where it stalled at. And silver, which got ahead of itself over here. Gold led the way. Silver played catch up. It's just consolidating here. We've covered multiple times long-term how bullish everything looks. And so be careful, be selective as always, stick to the plan, so on and so forth. Don't get chopped. If something doesn't go your way, step aside. Small loss, acceptable losses, you survive. All yours, Dan.
That sounded like a segue there. All right, good morning. Yeah, we got a ton of gappers here. Let's go through opens real quick because of the gap. In the weekly options trader, we have a call spread on Amazon. I lowered the stop. That looks great. Deer, we have a put spread. Gapping down a little bit, but hopefully they'll be fine. Lulu. With yesterday's tail, I moved the stop to the tighter of yesterday's low or break even. Romeo Hotels gapping up. That should give us a chance to get out at hopefully at a nickel. Uber, Wild Ride, we're short the puts for this Friday, the 43 and a halves. And that might have stopped out yesterday. I know we have long stock also. Yep, it did. I had a stop of 43.50. So let me close that one out. UNH. Let me see what those Uber prices were. All right, looks like we're out at 60 cents. UNH put spread here, that looks fine. It's Friday, and that's it on the weekly. Let's jump over to the swing trader. ACN, we're long stock. Had a beautiful close. I can't tell if there's any gap there. Crowd, one of those crazy days. We're short, way out of the money. $80 puts, so it held the stop, but that was not a good day yesterday. GPS were long calls. HFC, long stock. I moved the stop to yesterday's low. KSS, another retailer. Then we sold a third right into the close. I forget the number, but it like 35% gain in one day. We have a bull call debit spread. Lima Kilo, we have a covered call. It's the coffee shop. Now, McGraw, I think you know who did this. I got an email from somebody today saying, oh, Lima Kilo is bullish. You know, what do you think here, Dan? And I just shake my head. It's like, what drugs are you on? This was the entry, either one of these 2 days, and I posted this pre-market this day, that was the day to get in. Why are you coming to me 7 days later, far from the 20? That's, you know, we talk about the bandwagon of how things move. We got on the bandwagon at the right spot, and I'm thinking of getting off it, not getting on it. Mick, we are short stock. Miller Herman, we're long stock. Nice, Chris, get off the bandwagon. Slab did take out a 5-minute high yesterday, so we're in this one. With the weak market, if it weakens, I will look to leg into a covered call. We have 2 banks. STI had a weak close after breaking out. STT, same. We'll just keep the stop. Our little Terp, we have that as a core trade, and the Uber I mentioned, but I had a wider stop on this one, which it held. And we should be looking to leg into a covered call on this because of its, and it was strong yesterday. I remember Greg mentioned it in the morning, and oh, look, it's trading very crazily. Gappers here, Merck, a higher low, gapping to gap breakout here to 84 bucks. So this is a beautiful put spread candidate. It's too sloppy for me for a directional. It's slop. You know, you got this gap breakdown, it's resistance. I see overstock up today in a weak market. And remember, folks, we mentioned this as a core trade. I think it was this day. It broke out here, it pulled back, and then made a higher high. It was climactic on all-time low support. Look at that. That would have been a 100% home run right there. That's the Romeo Hotel put spread we're in. The slop, but McGraw 30-minute high put spread idea, MLM. This one's gapping under 50. Wow, way the heck down here. That's some pain. Stone, I just noticed strong in a weak market, 36 bucks. No pattern, but maybe a put spread. This looks like an ADR, no interest. SLG was up this morning, now 92 and change, no pattern. The old zebra. This is actually, if it wasn't earnings, this is a beautiful bear flag. You know, you got a downtrend, counter trend rally. Now 206, gapping way the heck up here. There's no pattern though. McGraw, you mentioned this, said G is a breakout. Yeah, I like it. PG 119, very bullish gap up. Wow, look at all-time highs. Because it's gapping up from being up 3 days and it's breaking down here pre-market, that's actually a call spread candidate. Lily, it's a big old mess. Cough, yeah, another one I read in the journal, the story. So this woman, I think out in California, breached cough, and it's like bragging about it on social media. So they caught her really quick. 91.50, and the paper said they're gonna, you know, they're just estimating already $100 to $150 million hit, and that might just be from a fine. They mentioned Equifax had to pay 70 million, and I think they breached 46 million people. So this one's double. There's only like 330 million people in the US. Now I know they're a worldwide company, but my point is that's a huge number. 120 million or whatever. RNG. I had this one on my list ever since here, the 1, 2, 3. It's a 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. Gapping up and pulling in. Well, the gap's too big. Cough. Yeah, and you know, Howard and others, I love things bad in the news. You just got to wait for the pattern. Because then, you know, volatility is going to skyrocket on this thing today. And so I like selling calls or puts. But again, everything has to have a pattern. General Motors, what a run off this low. Greater than 100% retracement. So no, if it can go sideways for a while, the monthly still has room. Agilent, gapping down here, 69.60. So that's a bearish gap, right to, you know, holding yesterday's low. Serene, no pattern. RL, Ralph Lauren had earnings, 115. It's a put spread candidate, too sloppy for a directional. We talked about that. We talked about Pfizer, Merck, I like for a put spread, Mighty Mo, slop. Wow, there's a lot of slop out here today. And markets are hanging out at the lows. MasterCard, only down 50 cents. Look at this trend though. Look at the rising 2050. HCA, wow, that's getting whacked. Alex, wow, this was the one that, right, that weren't we trading this 1, 2, 3 on HCA? I mean, this is why we don't hold over earnings. It's just what we choose not to. And that's a picture of why. Grub. This is what we call a bear island reversal. Look at this poor little island up here all by him lonesome. It's a shock. Every single long that went home long in this bar is now holding a losing position. ETN's a big mess. DHI, it's a big mess. COP had earnings. It looks lower. It's at this prior low, so it's not an ideal entry. But the monthly looks lower. CMI, wow, that's getting whacked. NOV, if it closes here, it's a beautiful 1, 2, 3 for tomorrow, short. These